The old mansion felt quiet tonight, hushed like it was, holding its breath. Graceland, even the air seemed thick with history here, thick with memories and the faint echo of rock and roll. Inside, in a dimly lit, comfortable den, Elvis Presley sat opposite a young journalist. He wasn't the vibrant, hip-swiveling king everyone knew from the stage, not tonight. Tonight, he was just a man in a plush armchair. Older, a little tired, but his eyes still held that unmistakable spark. A deep, thoughtful blue. "Thank you for doing this, Mr. Presley," the journalist. A nervous young woman named Sarah said, her voice barely a whisper. A recorder sat between them on a low table, its little red light glowing. Elvis smiled, a gentle, almost weary curve of his lips. "Call me Elvis, honey, and it's all right sometimes. A man just needs to talk, you know. Get some things off his chest." Paused, looking around the room at the awards and framed photos that lined the walls. Symbols of a life lived larger than life, especially when those things ain't exactly what folks expect to hear. Sarah leaned forward, her notepad ready. "Your manager, Colonel Parker, said this interview was about your personal beliefs. Something you've never really talked about publicly before." Elvis chuckled softly, a sound like gravel rolling over silk. Colonel always knew how to make a headline, bless his heart. But yeah, that's what we're here for. Something deeper than the music, even something older. He took a slow sip from a glass of iced tea, the clink of the ice cubes the loudest sound in the room. His gaze drifted, seemingly unfocused, but Sarah felt a strange intensity radiating from him. It was as if he was looking at something she couldn't see. "See, folks think about heaven, right?" he began, his voice low, a rhythmic, southern drawl that could soothe or thrill. "That this ain't the first time I've been here, and it probably won't be the last." Sarah's pen hovered over her pad. Reincarnation, that was the word. She'd read about people believing in it, but never ever had she imagined Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, talking about it. "You mean like you've lived before?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Elvis nodded slowly, a faraway look in his eyes. "Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Not in some grand dramatic way, not like I remember being Caesar, or something like that. More like a whisper, a gentle nudge in the back of your mind, like a song you heard once a long, long time ago, and you can't quite remember all the words, but the melody, it sticks with you." He leaned forward slightly, his elbows resting on his knees. "Sometimes, when I'd meet someone for the first time, it felt like I'd known 'em forever. Or I'd visit a place, maybe some little town on tour, and it'd feel strangely familiar, like I'd walked those streets in another lifetime. Just a fleeting impression, you know." The room was silent again, save for the soft whir of the recorder. Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine, not from fear, but from a strange sense of wonder. This wasn't the Elvis of the movies or the tabloids. This was a man wrestling with deep cosmic questions. "It started early for me, this feeling," he continued almost to himself. "My mama, she just said I had an old soul. Guess she wasn't wrong." He gave a small, self-deprecating chuckle. "Back then, I didn't have a word for it. Just felt different, like there was more to everything than what met the eye. More to me, even. And that feeling, it never really went away. If anything, it just got stronger. The older I got, the more I saw of the world." Sarah scribbled furiously, trying to capture every word, every nuance. "So how did this belief, how did it develop for you, Elvis? Was there a specific moment?" He paused, thinking. "From books I read, sure, but mostly from just observing life, the way things repeat, the way people grow and change, the way some lessons seem to keep coming back until you finally learn them." He gestured vaguely with one hand. "You see a child innocent and full of wonder, and then you see an old man, wise and weathered. And you think, are they so different? Really? Maybe they're just on different parts of the same long road." Maybe we all are. Elvis leaned back in his chair, a thoughtful frown creasing his brow. It makes you think about how you treat people too, if we're all on this journey together. If we're all connected through time, then every act of kindness, every bit of love you put out there, it ain't just for this one life. It echoes. It comes back. And maybe, just maybe, you're helping someone you knew from long, long ago. Or someone you'll know again, way down the road. His voice had taken on a gentle, almost hypnotic quality, and Sarah found herself completely captivated. It was more than just an interview. It felt like a sacred sharing. The king of rock and roll stripped bare of his celebrity, offering a glimpse into the very core of his being, and it was unexpectedly one of the most comforting things she had ever heard. The silence returned, a comfortable one this time. Outside, the Memphis night was still, but inside Graceland, a new kind of music had begun to play, the quiet, ancient melody of a soul reflecting on its journey. Elvis closed his eyes for a moment, letting silence settle around them like a soft blanket. When he opened them again, the faraway look was still there, but it was tinged with a nostalgic warmth. "You know, when I was a kid in Tupelo," he began, his voice dropping to a confidential tone. "Things were simple. We didn't have much, but we had family, and we had church, and I always had this feeling, even then, that there was something more to the world than what you could see with your eyes or touch with your hands." He recalled long, hot afternoons spent exploring the woods behind a little shotgun shack. I'd climb trees or just sit by myself, listening to the crickets and the birds. And sometimes I'd get this really strong sense of belonging, like the ground under my feet. The trees around me, they knew me, or I knew them. Sarah listened intently, picturing a young Elvis, not yet the legend, but already attuned to the deeper currents of existence. "It wasn't like a memory exactly," he clarified. "A wave of familiarity, almost like homesickness. But for a home I couldn't remember." He chuckled softly. "My mama Gladys, she'd just shake her head and say, 'Elvis, you got a head full of dreams, son.' But she never discouraged it. She just let me be. And that was a blessing. It was like they were calling to a part of me that already knew the words, even though I'd never heard them before." He paused, considering. "Kind of sadness that runs deeper than any single lifetime." "You felt connected to it?" Sarah prompted gently. "More than connected," Elvis affirmed. "It felt like a part of me, like those feelings, those experiences. They weren't just abstract ideas. They were etched into my very being, carried over from somewhere, somehow. Like my soul recollector incident from his childhood. It lasted only a few seconds, but it was so vivid, so real. It left me breathless, and when it faded, I was just a little boy again. Skipping rocks, but I knew something had shifted inside me. Did you tell anyone?" Sarah asked. "Who would I tell? What would I even say? Mama, I just had a vision by the creek about the meaning of life. She'd probably think I had a fever, so I just held on to it. It became one of those private moments. A secret treasure that shaped me without me even realizing it." Fully at the time, he leaned back, a wistful smile playing on his lips. "And I was just one actor playing my part. But the soul inside was much, much older than the character I was playing." He looked directly at Sarah, his blue eyes holding a rare vulnerability. It gave me a strange kind of comfort. Even when things got crazy, knowing that this wasn't all there was, that there was a continuity. That the soul much longer journey than just the one from Tupelo to Memphis. And then out into the world, the image of a young Elvis sitting by a creek, contemplating the mysteries of existence, was a powerful one. Painted a picture of a sensitive, profound individual, far removed from the glitz and glamour that would later define his public image. Made the story feel not just intriguing, but deeply, truly heartwarming. This quiet inner life was a secret garden he had cultivated long before the world ever knew his name. When I sing, Elvis began, his voice imbued with a new kind of energy. It ain't just words and notes. It's something else. Something that comes from a place deeper than my vocal cords, deeper than my brain even. He tapped his chest lightly, right over his heart. It comes from in here, from the soul. Sarah nodded, understanding. She'd felt that power from his music herself. "Take, are you lonesome tonight?" he mused. That song's got a sadness to it, a yearning when I sing it, especially that spoken part. It's like I'm not just singing about my own loneliness. It feels like I'm tapping into all the loneliness, all the longing that's ever existed. Like the souls who felt that way before me. They're lending their voices to mine. He described how during particularly intense performances he'd sometimes lose himself completely in the music. The lights, the crowd, it all fades away, and it's just me and the song. And sometimes I get this sense of being connected to a long line of musicians, of story, Tolme's, the Four. It's like I'm joining a choir that stretches back through generations, through lifetimes. It feels like home. Closed his eyes again, perhaps hearing those timeless melodies in his mind. It's not just a rebel yell. It's an ancient roar, a breaking free that resonates through time. He opened his eyes, a glint of passion in them. The music, the feeling, the energy. It's bigger than any one person. It just flows through you. Did this feeling affect your songwriting? Or your choice of songs? Sarah wondered aloud. It definitely guided me, Elvis replied. I was always drawn to songs that had a certain depth. Not just catchy tunes, but songs that had a story, a feeling, that spoke to something universal. And yeah, sometimes I'd be working on a new song and a particular melody or a lyric would just drop into my head, fully formed, like it had always existed, just waiting for me to pluck it out of the air. So your music isn't just entertainment, Sarah mused. It's a form of spiritual expression for you. Elvis nodded slowly, a profound earnestness in his eyes. Maybe it's because my soul and all the echoes within it are trying to reach out and touch theirs. He picked up his glass of iced tea, swirling the ice. It's a powerful thing to feel that connection, and it makes you realize that your life, your gifts, they're not just for you. They're part of something larger. And that more than any gold record, more than any screaming crowd, that's what truly makes a man feel undeniable. He wasn't just talking about music, he was talking about the very essence of his being. Intertwined with the ancient rhythm of existence, this idea of living before and living in, Elvis said, his voice soft but firm. It changed how I looked at everything, especially how I looked at people. See, if we're all on this long journey, cycling through different lives, then we're all connected, right? We're all part of the same big spiritual family. That means the man on the street, the child playing in the park, the fan who's screaming my name at a concert, they're not just strangers, they're fellow travelers. And maybe, just maybe, I've known some of them before, or I'll know them again. Sarah thought about his famous generosity, his genuine love for his fans, his deep empathy. It suddenly made so much more sense. It really makes you think about how you treat folks, he continued, his brow furrowed in thought. If you believe you're going to see these souls again, if you believe that what goes around truly comes around, not just in this life, but over lifetimes, then you want to put out good into the world. You recalled specific moments. Maybe in another life, they were there for me. Or maybe I'll be there for them in a future one. It just made me want to give them a little comfort, a little hope. So your famous generosity, Sarah prompted, it stems from this belief. Elvis nodded without hesitation. Part of it, yeah, my mama always taught me to be generous even when we had nothing but this belief. It deepened that it made it more profound. It's not just about charity, it's about investment. Investment in the human spirit through thick and thin, through different eras, different bodies. He spoke of the quiet moments of giving away from the cameras. I'd see someone needing help, a stranger even, and something inside me would just say, "Do it, Elvis. Lend a hand." And it wasn't just because it was the right thing to do, though it was. It was because it felt like a cosmic obligation. It sounds like a very loving philosophy, Sarah observed. It is, honey, Elvis said softly, a genuine warmth in his eyes. It's all about love. Love is the great unifier. It's the energy that binds everything together across time and space. If you carry love in your heart, it's like a compass that always points you in the right direction, and it helps you recognize other souls. He leaned back, his gaze reflective. It made me less judgmental, too. You see someone making mistakes, and instead of just writing them off, you think, well, maybe they're just learning a tough lesson right now. Maybe they're carrying burdens from previous lives. They're trying to work through. Sarah ventured, knowing his passion for his dogs and horses. Elvis's face lit up instantly. Maybe they've been companions in other lives. Who knows? He smiled wistfully. They teach you so much about simple love, simple trust. So the idea of reincarnation provides a deeper meaning to compassion and connection for you, Sarah summarized. It gives it a cosmic scale, yeah, Elvis affirmed. And that tapestry, it just keeps growing, getting richer forever. He looked at Sarah, a peaceful expression on his face. It's a hopeful way to live, you know, because even when things get tough, when the world seems dark, you know that there's always a chance for growth, for learning, for redemption, and that the love you give, it never truly dies. It just keeps circulating, finding new ways to bloom. Life after life. I told you about those whispers, those feelings of déjà vu, right? He began, his voice dropping to a more intimate tone. Well, sometimes, very rarely, it wasn't just a whisper. It was almost like a clear picture, like a dream that felt more real than waking life. A vivid glimpse of something that felt like a memory, but not from this life. Sarah leaned forward, her recorder still faithfully whirring. This was exactly the kind of intriguing detail she hoped for. It happened a few times. Elvis recounted, his gaze distant, lost in the recollection. The smell of old wood coffee and just history. And suddenly, it hit me. He paused, reliving the moment. I was holding a small wooden bird carved intricately, and my heart was bursting with joy and a little bit of fear. Elvis shook his head slowly, a bewildered smile on his face. And I knew in that flash that this tiny bird was my way of saying goodbye, and I'll always remember you. Sarah gasped softly. That's incredible, Elvis. A clear memory. It felt like one, he affirmed. It's like that small, unknown life, that quiet, creative soul left a little imprint on me. He then shared another less defined but equally potent experience. It was the same energy I felt when I sang gospel music, that deep spiritual connection. And in that moment, he continued, I had a fleeting sense of being a healer, not a doctor, not with instruments or medicines, but someone who brought comfort, just with their presence, with a gentle touch. Someone who understood suffering deeply and had a gift for easing it. It wasn't a specific image, but a strong, undeniable feeling of a past purpose, a past calling. It made me wonder, Elvis mused, if that's where some of my natural empathy comes from, why I always felt drawn to people. in pain. Pour me. Maybe it's not just my mama's. Maybe it's not just my mama's good raise-off. A lesson carried over, a skill developed in another time. He looked at Sarah, a vulnerability in his eyes. It's a lot to take in. I know it sounds crazy to most folks, but when you feel it deep in your bones, when it resonates with something so true inside you, you just know, you just accept it, and it gives your whole life a different kind of meaning, a different kind of purpose. The story of the carved bird was particularly poignant, painting a picture of a humble creative life that was a stark contrast to his current existence. It added layers of depth to Elvis, suggesting a complexity of spirit that few people outside his closest circle would ever have glimpsed. It was heartwarming in its simplicity and profound in its implications. Elvis sighed, a deep, weary sound. This belief, this understanding of reincarnation, it's a double-edged sword sometimes. It's a blessing, no doubt, but it also carries a certain burden, a weight. What kind of burden? Sarah asked gently. The burden of endless lessons, I suppose, he explained, looking out towards the darkened window where his reflection stared back, a ghost of his former self. If you believe you keep coming back, then you realize that every mistake, every missed opportunity, every lesson you don't quite learn in this life, well, you're probably going to have to face it again in the next, or the one after that. It means there's no escaping your own growth. And for a public figure, someone who lives under a microscope, who makes a lot of choices that are judged by millions, that's a heavy thought. You wonder, am I doing enough? Am I learning what I'm supposed to learn? Am I fulfilling my purpose? This life, this fame, it was wild, beautiful, overwhelming. Sometimes I'd wonder, was this meant to be? Was this a lesson I needed to experience? The adoration, the isolation, the temptation. Maybe it was all part of a bigger curriculum for my soul to learn about humility, about true connection, about what truly made her beyond the applause. It sounds like you saw your fame as a spiritual test, Sarah observed. In a way. Yeah, Elvis agreed. It strips you bare. Fame, does it shows you who you really are, and who the people around you really are. And if you believe in this cycle, then you think, okay, what am I supposed to take from this? What's the core truth I need to carry forward into the next life? Like, man, can't I just get some rest for a few thousand years? He gave a small, wry smile, but then his expression softened. But then the blessing kicks in because the burden reminds you to live this life fully, to make it count. If you know you're here to learn, to grow, to experience, then you don't want to waste a single moment. You want to embrace every challenge, every joy, every sorrow, because it's all part of the journey. And the blessing of hope, he continued, his voice gaining strength, that's the biggest one. No matter how bad things get, no matter how many mistakes you make, there's always another chance, another dawn after every night. It takes away the fear of finality, of everything just ending, because the soul, it never ends. It just transforms. He looked directly at Sarah, deep wisdom in his eyes. So, it brings you peace? Sarah asked. Ultimately, yes, Elvis affirmed. Profound peace because it removes the fear of death. It turns death not into an end, but into a transition. Just another step on the path, and it makes you see the beauty in every stage of life from childhood to old age, because it's all part of the same continuous flow of growth and experience. He leaned back, a quiet acceptance in his posture. It's the push you need to keep moving forward, to keep evolving, and that, in itself, is a truly heartwarming thought. Memphis, Elvis said, his voice imbued with a deep reverence. This city, it's got a soul, a powerful, ancient soul. And sometimes when I'm walking around or driving through the streets, It feels like this place remembers me, and I remember it like we've been connected for a very long time. He spoke of the land itself. It's like a living history book, and you can feel the echoes of all those lives. Sarah had heard him talk about his love for Memphis, but never in this deeply spiritual way. You feel a particular connection to Memphis, beyond just growing up here? She asked. More than just growing up here, honey, Elvis confirmed. It feels like home in a deeper sense, like my soul just gravitated to this place. Maybe it's the crossroads of cultures, the music, the history, but there's a certain energy here that just feels right to me, like I'm part of its long story, not just this one lifetime. Sun Studio, when I first walked in there, it wasn't just a recording studio. It felt like octaves of music. All the hopes and dreams poured into those microphones were still lingering in the air. It was like I was tapping into that long lineage of musicians who came before me, all trying to express. Some call me heckles, and sometimes when I'd visit one, I'd get that feeling again, that knowing that I'd walked through those doors before, perhaps under a different name, with a different face, but with the same yearning heart. He talked about the people of Memphis, the spirit of the people here, the resilience, the warmth, the struggles they faced and overcome. It all feels so familiar to me, like a big family, all these souls gathered in this one spot. And I think, man, how many lifetimes have they seen? How much wisdom do they carry in those old bones? So, Memphis isn't just a geographical location for you, Sarah mused. It's a place with a profound spiritual resonance. It's like a spiritual anchor. Elvis nodded. It grounds me no matter how far I travel, no matter how wild things get. Coming back to Memphis always feels like coming home, not just to my house, but to my soul's true resting place. He closed his eyes for a moment, as if soaking in the essence of the city. And that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, right here, right now, experiencing this particular chapter in this particular city, learning these particular lessons. It's a comforting thought, Sarah agreed. More than comforting, Elvis said, opening his eyes, a serene expression on his face. It's inspiring, because it tells you that even a city, a patch of ground, can hold the echoes of countless lives. And if a city can do that, imagine. So, if you believe in coming back, Sarah asked, what do you hope for in your next life? Do you ever think about it? Elvis smiled, a thoughtful, wistful smile. Oh, I think about it a lot, honey. Especially lately. This life has been a lot more than I ever could have imagined. And I'm grateful for every single bit of it, the good and the bad. He paused, then began slowly. Write songs just for myself or for my family. Learn an instrument I never had time for, like the violin. That sounds very different from this life, Sarah observed. That's the point, isn't it? Elvis chuckled. To experience different things, to learn different lessons. This life I learned about fame, about impact, about the power of music, about the love of millions. But maybe the next life is about quiet strength, about inner peace, about the beauty of solitude, about finding joy in the mundane. Maybe, but the lessons, maybe it would just be a natural part of my being, something I do for joy, not for accolades. Like that glimpse, tink, coaching. And what about the lessons? Sarah asked. Patience for sure. Humility. I've had a lot of that in this life, but there's always more to learn, maybe to be more disciplined in a different way. To truly master something, not just perform it. To be a better understand the world from a different perspective. He considered another possibility. Or maybe just maybe, I'd come back as someone who could use the experiences of this life to help others in a different way, not through music, but through direct service, maybe a teacher or a healer or someone who works to bring people together, someone who understands the complexities of the human heart, because I've lived them myself. Something like that. A king of kindness, perhaps, or a king of understanding. Just a soul that's trying to evolve to be more compassionate, more wise, more loving with each go-round. He looked out the window, his gaze soft and hopeful. The beauty of it for me is the promise of continuity, that the journey never truly ends, that there's always more to explore, more to learn, more to experience. It's not a finished line, it's an endless horizon, and that's incredibly exciting when you think about it. It means every moment, every interaction has potential. Sarah said, "Exactly," Elvis affirmed. It's a comforting thought, a guiding light, and a powerful motivation to always keep growing, always keep learning, and always keep loving. One of the biggest questions people have about reincarnation, Sarah began, her voice gentle, is about love. If we keep coming back, do we find the same souls? To relationships, Elvis's expression softened, a deep, tender warmth filling his eyes. He thought of his family, his friends Priscilla, and especially Lisa Marie. "That's the most beautiful part of it, honey," he said, his voice husky with emotion. "I absolutely believe that love transcends lifetimes more than anything else. Love is the thread that binds us across eternity." He spoke of the profound connection he felt with certain people. "And I know deep in my heart that we'll find each other again, no matter where our paths lead in the future." Sarah saw the raw emotion in his eyes, a flicker of pain but overwhelmingly love. "And my mama, Gladys," he continued, his voice catching slightly, "and maybe in another life we'll be reunited. Maybe as mother and son again, or maybe as different roles. But with that same unbreakable bond of love." He paused, collecting himself. "It's like a soul family. You journey with certain souls over and over again in different relations. Sometimes they're your parents, sometimes even your partners or your teachers. The roles change, but the core connection, that deep love and recognition, it remains." It gives a different perspective on loss, then Sarah asked. Turns goodbye into "see you later." It doesn't make the pain go away. Not completely. Loss always hurts, but it gives you hope. It gives you the comfort of knowing that the love doesn't just vanish. It lives on, waiting for the next reunion, the next chapter in the endless story of souls. Even with the complexities, the ups and downs, the deep love was always there, and I believe that our souls chose to come together in this life, to learn certain lessons, to experience certain things. "It's a beautiful thought, Elvis," Sarah said, genuinely moved. "It is, honey," he agreed, a gentle smile on his face. "It's the most beautiful thought of all, because if love is the one thing that truly transcends, then everything else falls into place. It means every act of kindness, every moment of shared laughter, every comforting embrace, it's all building something eternal. It's weaving a tapestry of connection." He looked at the framed photos around the room. "Family, friends, band members I've loved, who I've shared this journey with, I carry them with me. Not just in my memories, but in my soul. And I believe that connection, that love, is so strong that it will find a way to manifest again. In some form, in some future life. That's the ultimate heartwarming truth, isn't it? That love truly never dies." The room was still, the gentle hum of the recorder, a quiet witness to the profound conversation. Elvis leaned forward, his hands clasped, a sense of peace settling over him. "So, that's it then," he said, a faint smile playing on his lips. "My not-so-secret, my belief in the great unfolding, the endless journey of the soul." Sarah clicked off her recorder, her mind buzzing. She had come for an interview, but she had received a lesson, a revelation. "Thank you, Elvis," she said, her voice filled with genuine gratitude. "This was truly fascinating and incredibly moving." Elvis nodded, his eyes sparkling with a quiet contentment. "It's a lot to take in, I know. Folks expect the Flash, the showman, the king of rock and roll. They don't always expect the soul searcher. But that's a part of me, a big part that's always been there, from that little boy in Tupelo till now." He gazed around the den at the familiar objects, the memories etched into the very walls of Graceland. "I hope it makes sense to folks. I hope it gives them something to think about, something to feel good about. Because this isn't some sad, heavy philosophy. It's full of hope. It's full of promise. It's full of love." He motioned towards his guitar resting in the corner. "You know, when I sing, sometimes I feel like I'm trying to put all this into the music. Not just the words, but the feeling, the understanding, that sense of connection to something ancient, to something eternal. That melody of the soul's journey so deeply with people. Maybe they're hearing that deeper message. Even if they don't come of my songs, it's a beautiful legacy," Sarah said. "More than just the music, it's the message behind it." "That's what I hope for," Elvis mused. "That maybe when people listen to my records, or remember me, they don't just think of the jumpsuits or the concerts. Maybe they think of that little boy who wondered about the universe. The man who tried to spread kindness, the soul who believed we're all on this incredible, never-ending adventure together." He stood up, slowly, a little stiffly, but with a renewed sense of purpose. "This life, it's just one song in a very long album. And every song, every note, it teaches you something. It leaves a mark. And then you move on to the next one, carrying all those lessons, all those melodies, all those laws." He walked Sarah to the door, the hush of Graceland following them. The night outside was cool and still, the stars beginning to twinkle. "It's a long road," Elvis said, looking up at the sky, his eyes full of wonder. "But it's a good one. And it just keeps getting better because you keep getting to learn to grow to love, and that's all a soul can truly ask for." He offered Sarah a warm, genuine smile, the kind that had charmed millions. But tonight it felt personal, meant just for her. "Go on now, honey. Get home safe. And remember, the music never truly dies, and neither do we." As Sarah walked away from Graceland, the grand gates closing silently behind her, she felt a profound sense of peace. The king, in his quiet den, had unveiled a truth more captivating than any rock and roll anthem. He had offered a glimpse into the vast, unending journey of the soul, a journey filled with learning, love, and the promise of endless tomorrows. And in the quiet Memphis night, she could almost hear it. A faint, lingering melody echoing through time, carrying the heartwarming message of Elvis's fascinating belief